Welcome everybody. And so this is our first episode of this new thing we're doing.
Wow, I feel honored.
Bro, I'm excited, man. I'm very excited because, we've been trying to figure out a way to create some type of platform where we can have genuine conversation about stuff that's going on in the world, stuff that's happening in culture, and really as Christians, what our perspective, what our outlook should be on these things. Because a lot of young people have questions. And we did IGTV, but they put us on a weird limit of like 10 minutes.
Oh, man.
And we're like, we can't really have conversations, in that time. And so we also want to, go against all of that, maybe thinking that's out there that, oh, well, the church doesn't really talk about certain things, or they shy away from it, or they're afraid to talk about these things. We're really not, it's just, we have a time and place for everything. And we feel like in this platform, this is the time and place to have these conversations, dive in using wisdom and, good understanding and all that, for all the young people that are out there. And so, we have a good amount of 18 to 25-year-olds in our church, you know that. And we have a lot more curious young people in high school that have a million questions about life and stuff like that. And we have people of my age, right? I'm in my late 20s. I'm 28 years old, and I know other people.
So you're considered older already, too.
I'm older, yes.
Oh, man, I feel like you guys are still
I go to youth
young.
nights, and they're like, "What's going on?" But yeah. So like we've grown up, and there's things in church that we talk about and stuff. But yeah, there's a couple of things that maybe we don't spend as much time on, and just to get that good perspective, biblically speaking. But there's something hot going on right now, Jonathan. We both know what we're talking about, and it's politics.
Oh yeah, election season, 8 more days.
I know, it's crazy.
It's countdown.
So when the people see this, it'll literally be the day before.
Oh wow.
Voting. So.
Oh, okay.
It's gonna be crazy.
Ooh,
so we still don't know who's gonna win, and when they watch this or hear this, they won't know who has won yet.
Wow.
But just right off the bat, again, we're approaching this from a Christian perspective, right? If you're watching us or you're hearing us and you don't go to church and you're not a Christian, well, welcome and join us on Sunday, right? You can find our info somewhere. But from a Christian perspective, just right off the start, right?
Yeah.
Should we even vote?
Oh wow.
Like, is that something that we should do? Like, we see influencers, go vote, go vote, go vote. As Christians, do we even vote?
Yeah, that's great. That's a great question. I've heard a ton of podcasts on this particular issue, especially now. Is it a right or is it a privilege to vote? Because some who advocate for a certain view would be like, well, it's a privilege. Others are like, well, no, it's a right. It's every human right to vote. And I believe, I'm glad that you say from a Christian perspective, right? Because as a Christian, like what is our sole authority? And then we come to the Bible. So it's not going to be anything that you say or anything that I say. It's at the end of the day, it's what the Bible says, and that's how we would approach this particular issue. So the Bible isn't silent on politics in the sense of it does speak on government. It speaks that God has placed the government in place, in position of authority, and it tells us how we approach that. And so in this country, at least, and abiding by our country's laws, by being good citizens, I think one of the rights and to a certain aspect privilege that we do have is to make our voice heard. Make our voice heard because we are Christian and because we understand what the Bible teaches. And so this opportunity that we have to vote can say, well, I stand alongside this position and I will voice my position on this because this is what I believe from the Bible. So it's not a it can be at times a personal view and the way we feel about certain things. But at the end of the day, as a Christian, we're like, well, what does the Bible ultimately teach? And so if there's a particular person or candidate or party that advocates for that particular view or is strong for this, I think as a Christian, our biblical responsibility would be to help that candidate achieve or to win. There's a lot of politics involved too, as far as the electoral college and how much that plays and how much does it play, how much does our vote actually count? And I've heard a lot of debate on this too, like 100%. Does our vote even count? But that's, I guess, for another, you'd have to get someone involved in civics and all that, professors in that. But I think, as a Christian, our biblical responsibility would be like, hey, let's vote. If this is the opportunity that we have, let's make sure that we vote in the right direction, or what we at least think biblically is correct.
100%. And what I see, right, with a lot of people, it's, it's politics 101. It's two sides, and it's almost as if it's intended to divide, right, a nation in a lot of ways. One side has policy that you may agree with, the other side it's no, and then vice versa. As believers, right, you sometimes see, oh, well, one side is the Christian side, right? You see that be thrown out there anytime the elections come about. As Christians, do we have a specific side? Because, that's just something you see, and it pops up on social media from time to time. And, it's a legitimate question for, because there's some churches that do flat out say, like, yo, this is where we stand on certain things.
I even think in our time, I think that it's equal or even more confusing because there's Christians advocating for both sides. There's churches that are more liberal, and there's churches that are more conservative, exactly like a political party. And then so based on a church being conservative, they'll vote conservatively. Based on if they're liberal, they'll vote more liberal. But ultimately it causes confusion, and it causes like, okay, so what's the Christian party? These people advocate for, immigration reform and open borders, and these people are shutting it down. But these people are voting for abortion, and these people are voting for life. And so like, where do we go? I think that's one of the most difficult questions to really address if one is afraid of advocating for a biblical perspective.
Okay.
And I say that because there's certain things, moral equivalencies or moral issues in a particular party that we may not be in favor of.
Okay.
But they aren't necessarily sinful, or way more sinfully than, and I hate to use that because then it's like, how do we measure sin then? No, but for instance, a basic instance. So the open borders, right?
Yes.
So if some Democrats want to say, well, let's open up the borders, freedom, have immigration reform and all that. But then we get the conservative Republican Party that says, no, we got to close our borders and we got to shut this down because we're afraid of not only illegal immigration, but we're afraid of terrorism and, all of that stuff. And so you say, okay, well, what should I vote for then? Because it's like, well, my parents were immigrants, your parents were immigrants, my grandparents, and this country was founded by immigrants. It should be like, good sense to say, well, no, we got to have open borders. We got to love our neighbors. We got to love our people. And then the Statue of Liberty says, we welcome you, give us your humble, give us your poor. And so that sounds right. But, also, if you speak to families that were affected in 9/11 and maybe many of them had people that they loved in the towers and were affected by all of this terrorism, and you feel like, well, they're probably like, no, we got to watch our borders because it's not just, the Latinos that are coming in or it's other people that are coming in that want to cause danger to this country. And so this political party is advocating for that. So we should favor them then, as Christians, we should favor them. And the other Christians are like, well, no, we gotta. So it it's those levels that we really have to address and really assimilate. Because when it comes down to it, then it comes down little by little, little by little, little by little, into the big stones that are on the scale. You know, so if we put, all right, well, here's one stone on this scale, here's another stone on this scale, but then there gets to those big stones.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about abortion.
Yeah.
You know, I'm talking about a big stone like abortion. And I think that a lot of people were like, man, that's the only thing Christians see. You know, like, oh gosh, but what about, you know, this person that is homophobic and hates immigrants, and you know, what about that? You know, that's equal hate, and I get it, you know, and I'm not in favor of racism, and I don't think the Bible teaches racism, and it's not what we. But when we come down to fundamentals of big stones like abortion, it's a big issue, because it's the Bible teaching us in Deuteronomy, you know, the shedding of innocent blood, and who's advocating for these babies, you know, at any stage now, you know. It was before, like, oh, the first trimester, and it's like now it's you know, even a couple months or a couple weeks after the baby's born. And so those things cause a Christian to not favor one side because they believe it's a Christian side, but it causes them to vote against a very real sin, you know, that even though, like, I can favor a lot of other issues in a certain political party, for me to vote for something that would really be categorically what the Bible really confronts as a sinful act, that the leading government will be held accountable to before God. You know, at the end of the day, I'm not going to judge them. God's going to judge them, but I'm helping them get there with my vote. You know, and I'm helping them govern in I'm saying that I don't agree with this issue, but everything else is okay. But this, at the end of the day, is the main issue. And we always get backlash as Christians. They're like, oh, you guys only just talk about abortion, but you guys forget about everything else. But in reality, it's like, that's all that certain political parties do talk about. Like, for instance, this Coney Barrett, this new Supreme Court justice, like, if you saw her trial, like, one of the first questions was Roe v. Wade. It's like they were immediately attacking her on that and feeling threatened that she would overrule that or overturn that at the Supreme Court. And so it's like, it's not just us, you know, that are advocating for that. It's people that are pushing that and making that the main theme of a political party. So I guess all of that, you know, to address what it's really hard. 100%. You know, it's really hard. But at the end of the day, it comes down to big stones that I would consider sinful way to lead a nation.
100%. Yeah, I mean, it makes a lot of sense, especially because there's never going to be one side that you fully agree with, and all these different things. And then, you know, without going into all of these social justice movements that are going on right now, like, you know, you stepping a foot in on one end leads you into all of these different social justice movements that are all kind of walking together, and they're all supporting each other. And so, like, again, as Christians, it's about being mindful and using wisdom, and, you know, just watching, right? Watching what's going on and really seeing
and being
what's
informed.
happening.
Being informed. Like, I think a lot of young people, they're not informed.
100%.
You know? And I'm not bashing young people. I'm just, you know, I remember myself too. And it's like, we're very passionate, you know. I mean, you're younger than I am, so, you know, you're a little bit more passionate, but young people are very passionate, and we love that. You know, we love that with the young people. They're passionate, they're sold out. And I think they see a lot of injustice being done. And there is
a lot of injustice.
I mean, you see it, I see it. And we're not, you know, we're not shying away from that. We don't kind of say like, whatever, this is just the way it is. No, that we pray for God to heal 100%. This nation, you know, and to one day make all of those injustices right, you know, and so the young people, they do feel that, and they do sense that, and sometimes they feel the church is passive on those issues and stuff, but ultimately it's going to be the hand of God, and and God one day making things right. And that's what we have to kind of have our trust, that's where our trust is on those issues. But the passion of the young people are there, and so they want to make sure that their voice is heard. Yeah. And I would just say, being part of a church where you have a youth pastor, you have pastors that surround you, there shouldn't be a sense of like, well, I can't talk to my pastors about this. They won't get me. They won't understand. Yeah. Ask them. Yeah. They should be coming to your office. You don't have one in our church yet. One day, let's get this man in office. But they should be coming to you. Hey, Carlos, I feel very passionate about this. Yeah. What are we doing about let's pray and help them pray about it and inform them. Hey, well, have you checked this out? I mean, I think we might get in trouble, and I'm sorry that if you might get in trouble on this, but sorry beforehand. This is all me. This is not Carlos planning. But at the basic level of the BLM movement, right? Okay. And I know that you said let's avoid. We're not going to get into social movements. I don't want to get into that. But at the basic level, I saw a lot of Christian youth, young people, not just within our church, everywhere, young people in general, millennials in general. Yeah. Black Lives Matter. Of course. Yeah. We are not going to stay here as a church and preach, no, Black lives don't matter. Of course, Black Lives Matter, right? And I say the fault of not being informed is because when you understand the movement, is at a whole different level. It isn't just Black Lives Matter. It's more. Yeah. It's reading their doctrinal statement.
That's on their website.
On their website, stuff that they say. Yeah. That I'm pretty sure if you were to tell the young people, they'd be like, oh no, I'm not for that. Yeah. But they don't know because they don't read or they don't look it up, or everyone's putting a black image and on Instagram, everyone's putting the hashtag BLM, everyone's putting these certain hashtags. So I want to make sure that people think that I'm with that too, and obviously the intentions may be good. Yeah. But the ignorance reveals a lot more, it shows that we don't know. So, obviously as a pastor, it's like, man, back when I would have my Instagram account, be like, man, I should put BLM too, because Black Lives Matter, they're made in the image of God. They matter. Yeah. And I do see the injustice that is done to the Black lives. But then it's like, but wait, what if I do put this? What else am I advocating for? Yeah. Am I only advocating for this? Oh, well, then if you read their website, then I can see everything that I would be advocating for that it's completely unbiblical. So, that might be a whole different issue, but that's what I'm talking about, being informed. Yeah. We as young people, I think that's one of the biggest issues, ignorance. Yeah. They don't know because 100%. They're very passionate.
Yeah, 100%. That's something that we see a lot of. Even mainstream media has covered it, and just other outlets where this phrase of being bullied into advocacy, right, is happening, where just because you're not posting nothing, like we see the Chris Pratt situation that happened.
I just saw that.
Where it's just he's not saying nothing, or he hasn't really said much, and the Avengers do something for one particular candidate, and he's not there, and everyone just
blows up,
bashes him, and even the Avengers, the real life actors, they come to his
Iron
defense.
Man went to his defense,
bro. The Hulk, all these things, and they were just like, hey, he's just always been like this. Yeah. Hulk, I forget his name, but Hulk, I say Hulk.
I forgot
his name too, but he's a Democrat. Yeah. Like he's been, everyone knows that, and he even defended this man that he tends to be conservative. He's he's politically silent about things. Like, this is just who he is, and he's a good guy. Like, leave him alone. And so it's just like, and
then they got turned on, right? Yeah. Then people started hating on them, right?
It's just crazy. So but that's the beauty of the young people, but also that's where it's crazy, right? It's I love that they're passionate about things when they get passionate about something. But yeah, like you said, it's this just a passion wave, right? Yeah. It's all hype for a moment. Exactly. They don't really dive in and really see what it is that they're I know some do, right? And so for all those, props to you. But the majority don't. The majority do it for what for the Instagram post to be relevant, to not feel left out. That whole FOMO thing is real, and so it's just crazy.
Yeah. And I even feel like because even like church kids, right?
Yeah.
So church kids have always had that stigma, and even within even me going to high school, going to high school as a church kid, like you always knew that people saw you differently, like, oh, this is a church kid, So you try to be cool, or you try to fit in, or you try to minimize your Christianity to a certain extent without completely denying it. So I think that when young people go to school and people know that they're Christian, and that's like a bad thing now. So if you're Christian and you go to high school and people know that you are Christian and you don't say anything to favor their view, then they're going to be like, you see, you Christians are horrible. You Christians are demonic. You
100%.
You Christians are so bad. You hateful people. Like Jesus would never do that, and stuff like that. So I even feel like that pressure is very real.
Yeah.
Like, oh man, no, let me show them that I'm a Christian and I'm advocating for it, and I'm helping and I'm making my voice heard. And so they could be like, yay.
It's a cool Christian.
Yeah, it's a cool Christian and a hip Christian. He knows what he's talking about. So I like him. But then, again, you open the door for those little areas, and then
100%.
when you close the door for another area, you're gonna get it back. You didn't get it here, but you're gonna get it over here. So you just gotta be very careful.
You have to, man, because then like I see young people and they post very loud statements on like social media, and I'm just like, oh my goodness. Like, if you were to stop and think about it for 5 minutes, like actually really stop and think about it for 5 minutes, you wouldn't post that just because of all of the backlash that can come.
Exactly.
And it's like, okay, so you stand for this and you're telling people to be loud, right? Or use your voice and all these different things. But then these other issues start rising up. Why don't you stand for those?
Exactly.
And that's what happens, to a lot of young people and even people my age, and where it's just we're too loud too quick, and we dig ourselves in this hole where now, oh my goodness, if anything were to pop up and I don't stand for it, I've just opened this door to be criticized because I'm so loud about some things and not others. And when I'm loud about some things, I call people out for not being loud about things. And it's just this whole mess that they dig themselves in. And it's just insane, man.
And again, as Christians, the Proverbs are very clear on this. Wisdom is in holding the tongue. I wanted to say a lot of things when all of this stuff was happening, when with George Floyd, with everything that even in the past, like you do want to say a lot of things, and sometimes you don't know how to say it. So it's happened in my case where I say something and I'm like, I shouldn't have said it, but it's out there. It's everyone has seen it, and whatever, but maybe I should have held my tongue and been prudent, and been wise. Just wisdom is in holding your tongue, and it's like the Bible's very clear on that. And of course, you will get criticized because you're not, first of all, you're not advocating for them, and then you're just completely silent, So you will get backlash for that. But it's, it's the Christian thing to do, to pray, to seek God, and to hold your tongue, hold your tongue. Because if you don't, then you're going to have to open your mouth for everything, and it's the same case everywhere. 100%. One day you're going to get the mob after you for not advocating for dogs not being euthanized, or anything. It could just be like whatever, and not, you didn't say anything about this, you didn't say anything about that. So it's just be wise, be very wise, and that means being informed. And honestly, that opens up conversations, where it's not a Twitter thing and bang, this and this and that's it, and people saw it. No, now when people ask, hey, why didn't you say anything about that? Well, this is why, and here, let me explain to you. And you have a more intimate conversation, and you have the opportunity to explain, where it's not just a Twitter comment or it's not just a picture, but now you're having a relationship. Now you're having a conversation, even if you don't agree with the other person, 100%. Which is okay, but at least you're able to explain it and not look like a goof, or at least give your biblical perspective. Yeah,
100%. And that's what we've been seeing more and more of, just kind of hearing podcasts and stuff like that, when people have psychologists on, they talk about this thing that's going on where people just do not know how to have conversations anymore. So they're hearing, but they're not truly listening. Mm-hmm. All they're doing is building a response.
Building the arguments.
And they don't know how to conversate, have a dialogue. And you see that, right? Yeah. And the crazy thing is, well, yeah, you see it in the church with the young people a lot, where, well, why doesn't the church do this? Or why doesn't the church do that? And it's like, well, who have you talked to? Just your little circle of friends, and never to anybody that can actually help you do something, within the church to make these things happen. Yeah. And I mean, yeah, it's just insane, right? I mean, but so yeah, like as young people, we should vote. Anyone should vote, right? Obviously, look at both candidates, like you said, and kind of measure, and like you said, some boulders are bigger than others, and so on and so forth. But as a Christian, we know that politicians aren't the answer to anything, really. We know that policies aren't gonna, fix something forever. Everything will always be temporary. So as a Christian, right, we see all of us kind of like fighting in the Twitter and Facebook and all these different things. But as a Christian, when we take a step back and really, once the politics are over, once the election is over, and all that stuff, we have a president, or, Trump is still there, or Biden takes office, where does the Christian find his hope, his peace? Because, a lot of us act right now as if a politician is going to find our peace.
Or it's the savior.
It's the savior.
So, I can guarantee that if Trump wins, the world is going to be a mess. If Biden wins, the world is still going to be a mess. I can guarantee that. We've seen it. It's not getting better. Nothing's getting better. And the problem is that when we place our trust on these figures, we're going to be let down no matter what. I was surprised to hear a lot of African Americans being let down by Barack Obama. I was like, really? I thought he was the main guy, And I've heard so many that they felt let down, and they placed all their trust in. They got hundreds of people to vote for him, and they felt just kind of a missed opportunity happened with Obama. And I was like, wow, that surprised me, at least, because I thought that was like, so it just proves, that politicians are not our saviors. They're not, even though they claim or try to fix the world, we know that they can't, because we have this issue of sin, and we have this issue of a roaming lion seeking whom to devour that is roaming around our nation, that even though that sounds like spiritual and kind of creepy, that's what the Apostle Peter says. And that's our main enemy, that's the main person that is out there, or the spiritual force that is over our nation, that is really gonna just keep making this more sinful, a more of a scary place, more of a place where I fear for my children, and I'm pretty sure you're gonna feel for your future 5 children or 6 children. I'm afraid of that, but I'm not gonna live in a cave because of it, and I'm not gonna try to make a political revolution about that. You got to think about it. How frustrated do you think the Jews were when Jesus didn't liberate them from Rome? Here you have a people that has been disenfranchised, and not only for the first century of history, in the AD period. I'm talking about people that have been disenfranchised and been kind of in slavery by opposing armies and countries their entire existence. Ever since Abraham was entrusted with them, they faced consistent opposition, and they were consistently taken under rule, and they were consistently enslaved. Like, here we have a history of people that for 1,500 years before Christ came were slaves and always overruled by a majority. So how frustrated do you think they were when Jesus comes into the picture, claims to be the Messiah, but they're still suffering, and they're still enslaved, and they still don't have their land, and they're still poor, and they're begging, and they still have to abide by a Roman government? Like, how frustrated do you think that could have been? This guy is supposed to save us. Well, I mean, I think the answer to the frustration is easy because he's on the cross, at the end of his life. But again, did Jesus come to cause a political revolution? And it's not a political revolution. He didn't. Could he have? I think he could have. I think he could have overthrown Rome like this, But that teaches us as Christians. I mean, if the only person in the world that could have done a political change didn't do a political change, and it even goes into like basic stuff like Jesus even affirmed that the poor and the hungry you will always have. Like he said it, and it's like, well, the only person that could have fed all the hungry, the only person that could have clothed all the poor and made all the poor people rich or at least well off, didn't do it. And it's like, why? And at the end of the day, Jesus says, my kingdom is not of this world. I didn't come here to build a political kingdom. My kingdom is not from this world, and one day that kingdom will be established. So we're in this very confusing period in our history of like we always call it the already not yet. The kingdom of God has come with Jesus, but it's not fully here. It's not going to be here completely until Jesus comes back. And so we live in this period of uncertainty, of sin, of hurt. There's still cancer is very real. AIDS is very real. Global hunger is very real. Poverty is very real. And it's like no one, not Gandhi, not Buddha, no one was able to fix those things, no matter how good they were. Confucius wasn't able to do it. No one was able to do it. No one, the Pope can't do it, So where's our hope? Our only hope comes to what the Bible teaches us, that one day he will return and he will make things new and make things right. And so he promises to his sons and daughters this inheritance that will one day come when Jesus returns. And so in the meantime, we as Christians live as much as we can like Christ. We love the poor. We love the needy. We do what we can to provide, to make, to do what we can for people in those situations. But it's not, we're not going to do anything to save them at the end of the day. It's giving them what we can that we have. You and I will be in the same position if Christ doesn't return in the next 50 years. So for the meantime, let me give you the best thing that I've got. It may be a Big Mac at that moment. They may be going hungry, and so that may be a good thing, But the best thing that I have to offer you is what Peter and John said. I don't have silver and gold. I have the gospel. I have here. This is your only hope. And even though you may live in poverty the rest of your life, that's not your eternity. Your eternity is not going to be here. You're going to one day have what John says in Jesus says in John, that he has prepared a home for us already. So it's not going to be here maybe, but it's coming, and it's going to be far better than what this world has to offer. So if we're going to live depending on politicians, man, it's going to be frustrating. 100%. And then we're going to kill each other. We're going to yell at each other, and we're going to hate each other at the end of the day and make this more polarizing than it already is.
100%. I agree. And I think, just to start wrapping things up, for young people, young adults, youth, to hear this, it's important because we live in such a place where it's about what I see, it's about what I feel, it's about the influences in my life and so on and so forth. And the Bible tells us the complete opposite. It's not about what you see, it's not about what you think, it's not about what you feel, it's about faith, right? And that's the way we live. And so be encouraged to vote, right? Be encouraged to go out and do the line, do whatever it is you got to do, but always be reminded that it's all temporary. We're waiting for that one day. That's already here, but not here yet.
Completely. Yep.
And that's what we hope for.
Yep.
Right? And that's challenging for
Oh yeah. Yeah.
an 18-year-old, 22-year-old to
Yep.
think like that.
I could
You
imagine.
know? But
Well, I mean, that's the way. Yeah. I mean, all of us live in that. You know,
Yeah.
like even the 18-year-old, it's a challenge,
Yeah.
but it's a challenge for the 37-year-old with
100%.
6 kids. You know, like I have to live in this world
yeah.
trying to guard my children
Yeah.
from all of this chaos. It's hard, you know. Like how am I gonna deal with teenagers? You know,
Yeah.
it's gonna. So it's everyone is affected.
They're
by
going to
it.
FaceTime you all the time.
Yeah, I'm gonna be living on FaceTime. They're gonna walk around with their phone like next to their face with me there, you know. So hopefully they invent some other stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely difficult times, and it's only gonna get more difficult.
Yeah.
But that makes the church more hungry
Yeah.
for the return of Christ. That's why we say, Jesus, come now. You know,
100%.
come now.
That's awesome, man. I'm excited.
Yeah.
It was great, man.
Good to talk to you, bro.
Yeah,
Every time I
dude.
talk to you, I feel younger.
Bro, get out of here.
You make me feel
the
younger.
next one's going to be better.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yes.
okay.
I hope.
All right, let's go. I'm ready.
A hot topic, a hot
Nice.
one.
Nah, you keep them coming, man.
We'll
There's
keep
so
'em
many
coming.
so
Yeah.
many hot topics.
Dude, a lot. But thank you so much for watching or just hearing. We're going to do these, you know, a couple times here and there, and just be on the lookout for them. If you can just give a huge, you know, a lot of love to Jonathan in the comments or whatever when you see him, and we'll go from there.
Well,
But
they
again,
might
thank you
not
guys.
give me love though. You never know.
You never know.
They might
you
be
might
like,
have
man, why are
something
you
come-
talking to that guy?
For real, right?
That's cool.
But yeah,
Good
thank
to
you
be here
guys.
with you, man.
Yeah, thank you, brother. Thank you.